Think you know exotic foods? Think again. There are foods out there so bizarre, so perfectly adapted to their environments, and so nutritionally unique that they seem like they belong in science fiction rather than on your dinner plate. Yet modern food culture has almost completely erased them from our collective consciousness. These aren't your typical farmer's market oddities. We're talking about a flower that weighs more than a toddler, a citrus fruit that looks like it's trying to escape its own skin, a tropical delicacy that'll put you in the hospital if you eat it wrong, and a seaweed that Vikings relied on for survival. After years of studying obscure foods from around the world and tracking down traditional preparation methods that are vanishing faster than rainforests, I've compiled 4 of the most fascinating edibles that nature ever created. Today, we're exploring foods that challenge everything you think you know about what's edible and what's not. Stick around, because number 3 is a fruit that takes an entire year to ripen and it can cause intense burning if eaten too early. And that final fact about number 4 will blow your mind about human nutrition. Let's start with the most controversial one. 1. Rafflesia. The Rafflesia is hands down the most bizarre and controversial food on this list, and calling it food at all is where the controversy begins. This is the world's largest single flower, and it's so strange, so utterly alien in its biology, that encountering one in the wild feels like stepping onto another planet. Native to the rainforests of Southeast Asia, particularly Indonesia, Malaysia, Thailand, and the Philippines, Rafflesia has been both revered and reviled by indigenous peoples for centuries. Here's what makes Rafflesia absolutely extraordinary. Individual flowers can measure up to 3 feet in diameter and weigh up to 24 pounds. That's not a typo. This single flower can weigh as much as a 2-year-old child. The blooms are typically dark red or brown with white spots, looking disturbingly like decomposing flesh. And that resemblance is no accident. Rafflesia is called the corpse flower for good reason. It emits one of the most putrid odors in the plant kingdom, a stench of rotting meat so powerful it can be detected from hundreds of feet away. This revolting smell serves a crucial purpose. It attracts carrion flies and beetles that pollinate the flower. The scent is so convincing that these insects actually lay their eggs on the flower, mistaking it for dead animal tissue. But here's where Rafflesia gets even stranger from a biological standpoint. This plant has no leaves, no stems, and no roots. It's a total parasite, living entirely inside the tissues of specific species of wild grapevines in the genus Tetrastigma. For most of its life, Rafflesia exists as thread-like strands of tissue woven through its host vine, completely invisible to the naked eye. Only when it's ready to reproduce does it burst through the bark of the host vine as a small bud. That bud takes 9 months to mature, the same gestation period as a human baby. After 9 months of development, the bud finally opens into that massive, stinking flower. And then, incredibly, the flower only lives for about 5 to 7 days before it dies and rots away. 9 months of development for less than a week of bloom time. It's one of nature's most extreme reproduction strategies. Now, here's where we get to the food part. And this is contentious. Traditional indigenous communities in parts of Indonesia, particularly among the Dayak people of Borneo, have historically used Rafflesia for medicinal purposes and, in some cases, as a highly specialized food preparation. The buds, not the fully opened flowers, were occasionally harvested and prepared in specific ways. The preparation method is crucial and highly specialized. The buds would be carefully harvested before opening, thoroughly cleaned, and then boiled multiple times with specific herbs and spices to neutralize the bitter compounds and reduce the intense smell. The resulting preparation was said to have a texture similar to mushrooms, with an extremely earthy, almost medicinal flavor. Here's the critical part. This was never a common food even in traditional societies. It was more of an emergency food source or a delicacy for special occasions consumed in small amounts. The flower contains various alkaloids and phenolic compounds that give it antimicrobial properties, and traditional medicine practitioners used it to treat various ailments, from fevers to post-childbirth recovery for women. Modern science has actually validated some of these traditional uses. Research has found that Rafflesia contains compounds with antimicrobial, antioxidant, and anti-inflammatory properties. Some studies have isolated bioactive compounds that show promise for pharmaceutical applications. However, and this is absolutely crucial, Rafflesia is now critically endangered across most of its range. The combination of habitat destruction, overcollection, and the plant's incredibly specialized biology has pushed many Rafflesia species to the brink of extinction. Some species are known from only a handful of populations, and some may already be extinct. Conservation laws now strictly protect Rafflesia throughout Southeast Asia, and harvesting them is illegal in most countries. So while Rafflesia technically qualifies as a food that humans have consumed historically, it's really more of a botanical curiosity and a reminder of how desperate times led people to experiment with the most unlikely food sources. The fact that anyone figured out how to make this stinking, parasitic, toxic alkaloid-containing flower edible at all is a testament to human ingenuity and desperation. Would I recommend trying Rafflesia? Absolutely not, for both legal and conservation reasons. But understanding that people found ways to eat even this most unlikely of plants gives you a window into the incredible resourcefulness of traditional food cultures and the desperate circumstances that drove people to push the boundaries of what's edible. The Rafflesia story is ultimately a cautionary tale about how we've erased not just obscure foods, but the entire ecosystems that produced them. When we lose the rainforests, we lose these botanical marvels, and with them, centuries of traditional knowledge about survival in the world's most challenging environments. 2. Buddha's hand. Buddha's hand is a citrus fruit so bizarre in appearance that it looks like something H.P. Lovecraft might have dreamed up. A bright yellow hand with multiple finger-like segments reaching out in all directions. Yet despite its alien appearance, this is one of the most fragrant and historically significant citrus varieties in Asian cuisine and culture. And the fact that most Western cooks have never heard of it represents a massive gap in our culinary knowledge. This extraordinary citrus, scientifically known as Citrus medica var. Sarcodactylis, has been cultivated in China and India for over 3,000 years. The fruit consists entirely of rind and pith. It has no pulp, no juice, and no seeds. Instead, it's all aromatic skin, and that skin is so intensely fragrant that a single fruit can perfume an entire room for weeks. The fingers of Buddha's hand can number anywhere from 5 to 20 or more, each extending 4 to 6 inches from the base. The overall fruit can be 6 to 12 inches in length, and the fingers can be splayed open or closed depending on the specific cultivar. In Chinese culture, the most prized specimens are those where the fingers are held in a position resembling a hand in prayer, hence the name Buddha's hand. What makes Buddha's hand absolutely remarkable is its fragrance and flavor profile. The aroma is intensely citrusy. Imagine the most concentrated lemon and orange oils you've ever encountered, combined with floral notes of jasmine and hints of lavender. It's not sharp or acidic. It's actually sweet and complex, entirely different from the scent of lemons or regular citron. The fruit has been treasured throughout Asian history for both culinary and spiritual purposes. In China, Buddha's hand is a symbol of happiness, longevity, and good fortune. It's given as a gift during the Lunar New Year and displayed in homes and temples. In Japan, where it's called bushukan, it's offered at Buddhist altars and used in traditional tea ceremonies. But beyond its cultural significance, Buddha's hand is an incredible culinary ingredient that Western cooks are only beginning to discover. Since the fruit has no bitter pith separating the skin from non-existent pulp, the entire thing is usable. You can slice it paper thin and use it raw in salads, where it provides an intense citrus aroma and a slight crunch with a complex flavor. Sweet, floral, and citrusy without the harsh acidity of lemon. The fruit is perfect for making candied citrus peel because there's no bitter membrane to deal with. Simply slice the fingers, simmer them in sugar syrup until translucent, and you have one of the most elegant confections imaginable. The candied peel has been a delicacy in Asian cuisine for centuries. Buddha's hand is also ideal for infusions. Add sliced fingers to vodka, gin, or sake, and within a week, you have the most incredible citrus-infused spirit, aromatic, complex, and entirely unique. The same technique works for making flavored vinegars, oils, and simple syrups. A few slices in a bottle of olive oil will create a finishing oil that transforms everything it touches. The zest is so potent that a little goes an incredibly long way. Use it anywhere you'd use lemon zest, but reduce the quantity because it's far more concentrated. It's spectacular in baked goods, pasta dishes, seafood, and desserts. The fragrance and flavor are preserved remarkably well when dried, making it perfect for tea blends and spice rubs. In traditional Chinese medicine, Buddha's hand has been used for centuries to treat digestive complaints, promote circulation, and relieve chest congestion. The fruit contains limonene and other terpenes that have demonstrated antimicrobial and anti-inflammatory properties in modern research. Growing Buddha's hand is challenging outside of mild climates. The plant is even more cold-sensitive than other citrus, damaged by temperatures below 50 degrees Fahrenheit and killed by frost. It thrives in zones 9 through 11, preferring coastal California, Florida, and similar climates. The trees are relatively small, usually 6 to 12 feet tall, and they're beautiful ornamental plants, even without fruit. Here's what's truly tragic. Buddha's hand is almost impossible to find in regular American supermarkets, despite growing perfectly well in California and Florida. This is pure market failure. The fruit looks too weird, people don't know what to do with it, and grocery buyers won't take the risk. You'll occasionally find it in Asian specialty markets or high-end grocers during winter months, but it's criminally underutilized. The few Western chefs who have discovered Buddha's hand are fanatical about it. It's appearing in innovative cocktails, high-end desserts, and creative savory dishes, but it should be far more widely available and appreciated. This is a fruit that offers intense flavor and fragrance with zero waste. Every part is usable. Yet we've essentially erased it from Western cuisine. One Buddha's hand can perfume your home while providing enough zest for dozens of dishes. It's one of nature's most perfect aromatic ingredients, shaped by thousands of years of cultivation and selection. The fact that most people have never tasted it is a culinary tragedy. 3. Monstera deliciosa. Monstera deliciosa has one of the most perfectly descriptive scientific names in botany. It literally means delicious monster, and both parts of that name are absolutely accurate. This is the trendy houseplant that's been appearing in every interior design magazine and Instagram post for the past decade, with those dramatic split leaves that have become an icon of modern tropical aesthetic. But what almost nobody knows is that this plant produces one of the most unique and delicious fruits in the tropical world. A fruit that can also put you in the hospital if you eat it wrong. The Monstera plant is native to the rainforests of southern Mexico and Central America, where it grows as a massive vine that climbs trees and can reach 70 feet in length. The iconic split leaves, called fenestrations, can grow up to 3 feet across in mature plants. But those ornamental leaves are just the beginning of the story. When Monstera deliciosa is grown in ideal conditions, warm, humid with plenty of indirect light, it produces remarkable fruits that look like elongated green corn cobs, typically 8 to 12 inches long and 2 to 3 inches in diameter. The fruit is covered in hexagonal scales that look like reptile skin or a carefully tiled pattern. And here's where things get interesting and potentially dangerous. The fruit takes an entire year to develop from flower to ripe fruit. During that time, it's filled with needle-like calcium oxalate crystals that will cause intense burning, swelling, and pain if you bite into unripe fruit. These crystals are the plant's defense mechanism, and they're incredibly effective. Eating unripe monstera fruit feels like chewing on fiberglass mixed with hot peppers. Your mouth, throat, and tongue will burn intensely, potentially for hours. But here's the remarkable part. As the fruit ripens over that full year, those calcium oxalate crystals break down and disappear. The hexagonal scales begin to separate and lift away from the fruit, starting from the bottom and gradually working upward. This is the only reliable indicator of ripeness. You must wait for the scales to naturally fall away, exposing the creamy white flesh underneath. Your wand cannot rush this process. The fruit ripens from bottom to top over several days or even weeks. You eat only the sections where the scales have fallen away naturally, and you must be patient. This is not a fruit you pick and eat. It's a fruit that tells you when it's ready, section by section. Once properly ripened, the flavor is absolutely extraordinary and unlike anything else in the fruit world. Imagine combining pineapple, banana, mango, and coconut, then adding notes of vanilla and a slight effervescence. The texture is creamy and custard-like with small black seeds that add a satisfying crunch. The flesh dissolves on your tongue with an almost champagne-like sparkle from natural carbonation that develops as it ripens. Indigenous peoples of Central America have harvested and eaten monstera fruit for thousands of years. The Nahuatl name for the plant translates to food for gods, which gives you an idea of how highly it was valued. Spanish colonizers encountered it in the 16th century and were amazed by its flavor, but they also documented cases of people being poisoned by eating unripe fruit. The fruit is incredibly nutritious when properly ripened. It's rich in vitamin C, B vitamins, and potassium, with decent amounts of protein for a fruit. The unique flavor comes from a complex mixture of volatile compounds, including esters, that create the fruity notes and terpenes that contribute to the tropical complexity. Here's what's tragic. Despite being one of the most popular houseplants in the world, almost nobody who grows Monstera deliciosa knows that it produces edible fruit, much less that the fruit is considered by many tropical fruit enthusiasts to be one of the best-tasting fruits that exists. This represents a complete erasure of traditional food knowledge. The challenge is that Monstera rarely fruits when grown indoors as a houseplant. It needs to reach maturity, which takes several years, and it requires warm temperatures, humidity, and the right light conditions to trigger flowering. Even in ideal outdoor conditions in tropical climates, you're looking at 3 to 5 years before a young plant produces its first fruit. For those in zones 10 and 11, growing Monstera deliciosa for fruit is absolutely worth the effort. Plant it where it can climb. It's a vine that needs support. Give it rich, well-draining soil, consistent moisture, and protection from direct sun. The plant is remarkably low maintenance once established. In Hawaii, southern Florida, and coastal California, there are small communities of Monstera fruit enthusiasts who carefully tend their plants and wait patiently for that magical moment when the scales begin to lift. The fruit occasionally appears in specialty farmers' markets for shocking prices, $30 to $50 per fruit when available. But it's worth it if you're a tropical fruit fanatic. Would I recommend trying Monstera fruit? Absolutely, but only if you can source properly ripened fruit or grow your own. Plant and wait patiently. Never try to eat it before the scales naturally fall away. The patience required is part of the experience, This is a fruit that teaches you to slow down and let nature dictate the timeline. The Monstera deliciosa. Story is a perfect example of how we've divorced ornamental plants from their food-producing origins. We obsess over the aesthetic, while completely forgetting that this plant was valued for millennia, primarily as a food source. That's a loss of knowledge and connection to the natural world that we should mourn. 4. Dulse. Dulse is a red seaweed that Vikings carried on their longships, Irish monks praised in medieval texts, and coastal communities throughout the North Atlantic have relied on for millennia. Yet despite being one of the most nutritionally complete and sustainably harvested foods on the planet, dulse has been almost completely erased from modern Western cuisine. This is nutritional and culinary malpractice because dulse is a superfood, in every sense of the word. Scientifically known as Palmaria palmata, dulse grows in the cold waters of the North Atlantic and North Pacific, clinging to rocks in the intertidal zone where it's pounded by waves and exposed to air during low tide. This harsh environment produces one of the most nutrient-dense foods in existence, a deep reddish-purple seaweed with soft, lettuce-like fronds that can grow 6 to 12 inches long. What makes dulse absolutely extraordinary is its nutritional profile. This is one of the few plant foods that contains a complete amino acid profile, all the essential amino acids your body needs. The protein content is impressive, ranging from 15% to 35% of dry weight depending on harvest time. That's higher than most beans and comparable to some meats. But the nutrition story gets even better. Dulse is extraordinarily rich in iron, one of the best plant sources that exists, making it invaluable for people with iron deficiency. It's loaded with iodine, which is essential for thyroid function and historically prevented goiter in coastal populations. The calcium content rivals dairy products, and it's rich in magnesium, potassium, and a full spectrum of trace minerals that are increasingly rare in modern diets. Dulse is also one of the best natural sources of vitamin B12, which is notoriously difficult to obtain from plant sources. This made it absolutely crucial for historical populations that had limited access to meat, particularly during winter months or lean years. The vitamin B12 in dulse is bioavailable and informs that humans can actually use, unlike some other seaweeds. The flavor is where dulse really shines and where it challenges Western palates that aren't accustomed to seaweed. Fresh or rehydrated dulse has a distinctive oceanic, slightly salty, savory taste with smoky undertones. But here's the remarkable transformation. When you fry dulse until crispy, it develops a flavor that's been compared to bacon. This isn't marketing, hyperbole. The umami compounds and the crispy texture genuinely evoke bacon in a way that's shocked countless skeptics. Historical use of dulse goes back thousands of years. Vikings carried dried dulse on their voyages as a nutrient-dense food that wouldn't spoil. Irish and Scottish coastal communities harvested dulse extensively, and it appears in medieval Irish poetry and literature. In Iceland, dulse mixed with butter was a traditional food, and in parts of Nova Scotia and Maine, dulse remains a beloved snack food. The traditional harvesting method is beautifully sustainable. Harvesters wade into the intertidal zone during low tide and carefully cut the fronds, leaving the holdfast, the root-like structure, attached to the rock. This allows the plant to regrow, and the same rocks can be harvested year after year for centuries. It's true renewable food production. Dulse requires no fresh water, no fertilizer, no pesticides, and no land. It actually improves water quality by absorbing excess nutrients. As a food production system, seaweed cultivation and wild harvesting represent some of the most sustainable agriculture possible. Yet we've abandoned it almost entirely in favor of resource-intensive land-based farming. In traditional cuisine, dulse was used in countless ways. It was dried and eaten as a snack, crumbled over potatoes and other dishes, cooked in soups and stews, mixed into bread dough, and used as a seasoning. In Ireland, dulse was sometimes boiled with milk to make a nutritious porridge. In parts of Canada, particularly the maritime provinces, dulse is still sold as a popular snack food at farmers' markets and roadside stands. Modern, innovative chefs are rediscovering dulse and finding new applications. It's spectacular in compound butters, where the oceanic flavor adds depth to everything from seafood to vegetables. Crispy fried dulse makes an incredible garnish for soups and salads. Dried and powdered dulse is a perfect natural seasoning, salt that adds umami and minerals to any dish. Dulse is also being explored as a sustainable protein source for the future. Some food scientists believe that seaweeds like dulse could help address global protein needs as climate change makes conventional agriculture more challenging. The fact that dulse grows in cold water, requires no inputs, and produces nutrient-dense food makes it a crop ideally suited for uncertain future conditions. Growing, or rather cultivating dulse, is possible on small scales if you have access to cold, clean sea water. In the Pacific Northwest of New England, small-scale dulse farming is beginning to emerge, but it remains a tiny niche industry. Most commercial dulse is still wild harvested using traditional methods in places like Grand Manan Island in Canada, Iceland, and the coasts of Ireland and Scotland. The tragedy is that most Americans have never tasted dulse, and if they have, it was probably as an ingredient buried in some health food product where they couldn't appreciate its unique qualities. This is a food that sustained entire civilizations, that helped prevent nutrient deficiencies, and that represents one of the most sustainable food production systems ever devised. We've erased it in just a few generations. If you want to try dulse, look for it in health food stores or online from specialty suppliers. Buy it dried. It stores indefinitely. Rehydrate it in water for salads and cooked dishes, or fry it quickly in a hot pan until crispy for that famous bacon-like flavor. Start with small amounts because the flavor is intense and unfamiliar if you're not used to seaweed. The dulse story is ultimately about how modern food culture has abandoned the wisdom of thousands of years in favor of convenience and familiarity. We've erased nutritious, sustainable, historically important foods and replaced them with resource-intensive monocultures. Rediscovering dulse isn't just about trying an exotic food. It's about reconnecting with sustainable food systems that actually work. These 4 foods, from the bizarre corpse-scented rafflesia to the Vikings' favorite seaweed, represent just a fraction of the incredible edible diversity that human cultures have discovered and then largely forgotten. Each one challenges our assumptions about what food should look like, taste like, or how it should be obtained, and each one has been nearly erased by the standardization and globalization of modern food systems. If this deep dive into forgotten foods fascinated you, make sure you're subscribed to Food They Erased and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next exploration into culinary history. And if you learned something new, drop a like. It helps more people discover these incredible stories. What forgotten food should we cover next? Let us know in the comments below.